Hi guys, so for today's video we're going to be talking about resolving conflict in your relationship. We're obviously not married yet, but we have been dating for 3 years, so I feel like we've picked up a few things. Definitely not experts and are still learning and growing through that. However, we did just want to share some of the things that we have established and have already learned with you so that you are able to take it into your relationship potentially. So yeah, let's get on with the video. So we, from the beginning of our relationship, have had arguments. I'm pretty sure...
Really?
Stop. Right? Like, we had arguments pretty much from the start. Because we were both, not necessarily toxic arguments, but just like we were both challengers and we were both stubborn. And so, just like, argument, like, they were arguments, but like, it's just because we were both strong-headed and had an opinion or a view or how things should go. And like, especially when it came to learning each other's family dynamics, that was very like a struggle. It still is sometimes. Just like, oh, well, my family does it this way, so your family's doing it wrong or whatever. So that even like was really hard to learn. But I guess like the first thing that I particularly learned just dating you has just been like to try to make sure that when conflict is arising or stirring, that I am, and I know I'm not perfect at this, and he knows that too. But just like making sure that you're not there to win, and you're making sure that you are addressing your own heart in the situation and not just saying, well, you're doing this and this and this, because I'm really good at doing that, and I'm really good at telling him what he's doing wrong, but I'm not good at telling him what I'm doing wrong, even though he knows. But like, for me to say, hey, I realized when I said this, that was wrong of me, or that was hurtful, and then addressing it that way and apologizing for it, I think that's really important, and I, again, am not good at that, but that's something that I know I need to be doing, and like, I just don't. I choose not to do it sometimes. So, that's my first thing. What do you think for you?
So, I guess a lot of, like, arguments, whatever, a lot of them, like, kind of start by, so it's just, like, throughout the day, like, whenever tension is slowly built up over little things, I know, like, me especially, like, arguments can literally arise from me just literally having like a long day at work, whatever, and not just like wanting to put in the time or whatever, come that night, whatever, to actually deal with a conversation that we're having, or I'm just fed up with something. Then I just hear one little thing that just goes over the edge. It's just that one little thing that just needs to push me over, or whatever, and take my like stress from work and whatever I'm doing and put it onto this little argument. So a lot of it is also like, no, like, whenever, like, you get into an argument, like, ask yourself, like, do we really need to be arguing about this? Because a lot of it, we've had so many stupid arguments. Like, so dumb, like, a waste of both of our times, and we get so heated in them. Like, it's so dumb. It's just bad for your relationship altogether. Just, like, stop and think, like, why am I, like, even bothering arguing over this? Like, does this affect our relationship in any major way? 9 times out of 10, it probably won't. It really is just fine. Now, there is some conversations that need to be had, like, again, what she was saying with the parents and stuff. We definitely don't see the same way because she was raised differently than I was. So our output or outlook on, like, things that we do, the way that we say things, the way that we like to prefer to handle things are just immensely different.
So even just addressing that, like, for example, family dynamics. His parents do something this way, my parents do something this way. Then coming together and talking about it, okay, how are we going to do things? Like, are we going to take bits and pieces from each, or are we going to lean more toward this way or whatever? And, like, talking it out that way is also really helpful. But yeah, stupid arguments are not worth it, and we still get in our fair share of stupid arguments, like, I don't even know about what, but there's time that we're talking in the morning. We had both just woken up, and I think it ended with an argument. And we literally, that was the first time we talked for the day. And I don't know what one of us said, or it was probably me that was just in a bad mood, but man, and then your whole day's wrecked because you just like started off like that. So just be conscious of like the words you're saying too, and like, is it really worth putting effort into this argument? Like, seriously. I mean, I need to tell myself this, but so
yeah, then I guess kind of building more onto that. Also, if you're about to get into like an argument or like you see the discussion heading towards there, communication really, like, you need to be able to still communicate during that. A lot of our arguments always happen at night or like early morning. Like, I guess at night is typically when we like FaceTime each other, but it's always like, and they kind of run into the night, and like, so whenever I'm actually at work or at school, I like have to either get up at 5 a.m. or early or whatever, and she doesn't always have to. So I'm always like getting tired by it. And at that point, like, I really don't even care about the argument. I just want to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like...
So we sleep on a lot of arguments.
Yeah, and then we never bring them back up.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to, like, have an argument or whatever, and you know it's actually something important, and it's not just a dumb argument, whatever, then maybe, like, just be like, look, we aren't seeing eye to eye on this. Like, can we just talk about this another time when we both have time to, like, actually sit in person if that's possible. Because
well, and it's just, sometimes I don't like when he says that. Like, we're in the middle of an argument and he's telling me, hey, I'm getting tired. I will fall asleep on you. Can we talk about this later? And I just get like, why would you want to do that? Like, let's talk about it now. I'm talking about it. Even though it honestly would be better to do it in the future when things are more toned down. Which, honestly, I remember doing that one time, and like, the argument literally went so smooth and it was done, and I was like, wow. Like, that was so easy. So just, like, it's okay to put a pause for that moment, you know, and then coming back to it. It's just making sure you're coming back to it so you don't have these, like, built-up emotions.
Yeah, with that being said, make sure you do really come back to it. Don't just, like, say you're gonna, like, push it off or whatever and, like, we'll just talk about it tomorrow or whatever when we have time. And not actually do it, because that argument will linger even though you kind of forget about it. But I guarantee somewhere along the line, days, weeks, months, even a year could go by, but that argument will come back up.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have all those past emotions mixed with your new emotions. And it's just going to turn into an actual nightmare. Or, you just kind of really need to resolve each argument as they come, not let them build up, and,
But Dylan, he's a lot better with arguments than me, like, I mean, most of the time. But, like, seriously, though, like, because I'm usually the one that will snap first, typically, unless he's had a bad day or whatever. But, like, he's very good about just, like, taking a deep breath and, like, being like, are you okay? Can I do something first? Or just, like, calmly responding back when I'm, like, clearly sounding frustrated, and he's just like, okay, like, let's blah, 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 and it's just very, like, calm, that it, like, really helps, too. So even just self-consciously making sure that your response is good and the way you're wording things is good, and, like, that you, through everything that you're saying, you're still reflecting Christ in that, and being gentle and not yelling, obviously, and sounding frustrated or annoyed.
Yeah, just make sure you think before you speak.
Yeah.
Don't end up saying something that like, just think in the future, like, would I regret saying this to her? Or even, like, looking, like, if it was roles were reversed, how would I take it if she said that to me or whatever? So, like, I know this is, like, big for me, because I know, like, in my head, like, sometimes I get family issues, just, like, those are probably some of our biggest arguments and most reoccurring arguments and stuff. And, like, so whenever I, like, start saying things, sometimes I say things that, like, really shouldn't be, like, I guess, said. So, like, if I, like, run it through my head and, like, okay, now what if she said that about me or my family and stuff?
Right. Yes.
How would I react to that? And, like, just, like, knowing that, like, well, I would just get mad or whatever. Well, what do you think she's going to do? So, just try to, like, know that your argument is trying to, like, lead it towards, like, not just purposely trying to anger the other person or get back at the other person.
Right. Or stab them. Because we've even had arguments like that where he says something about my family that I didn't like, so then I had to go talk about his family even though we weren't even talking about his family, like, just to be mean. Don't do that.
You kind of just want, like, to get back at them because,
yeah.
Understandably.
That's something that we're really bad at, too, and even just, like, comparing, like, well, like he said, like, it's good to consciously be like, hey, if she said those words to me or he said those words to me, how would I respond? So should I say them if I'm going to respond in the same way? So that's awesome to think about, but it's not the time to say it when he says something to me and then I'm like, well, if I said that same thing to you, you would be mad. Like, don't you say it. Like, that person should be doing it. And that is something, like, you should be praying for them if you can tell they're not responding in a good way. It's hard because obviously there is times to address stuff like that. Like, hey, the way whenever we argue and you do this consistently, like, there's a time and a place for that, but not during the middle of the heat. So
we are still learning.
No, yeah, we're totally noobs at this. So
I don't know. It takes a lot of getting used to, and you like start to like learn the other person a lot after the last several years or whatever. I can like normally like the way she even answers the phone, I can kind of depict her mood from that. If you have an argument that you've been waiting to like, or a conversation that you've been waiting to bring up, but like it could turn into an argument, wait until you're both in a steady mood where you're actually both calm and can actually discuss that. Don't be like, well, we talked, we're going to do it after work at this day, but maybe they had a crappy day at work, and that's literally just going to make the argument blow out of proportion. And just be wise about that and really take that into consideration.
Yeah. Prioritize talking about it, but obviously if it needs to get moved for a particular reason, then like do that. Yeah. In our past marriage counseling meeting, it talked about arguing and talked about how can you have an argument that revolves around Christ, or how can you argue, I think there was a question that said like, how can you argue like Jesus would, or like something along those lines that was really challenging because I'm like, I don't know, like, is argue, because in my head growing up I just always thought all arguing was sinful and bad, which like it can be depending on how your heart is and how you're acting, but also there's, you do need to talk things out. And so like, how do you do that so it's not called arguing, like you're just having a conversation and you're so that's like stuff to think about too. Would Jesus say this, or how would he say this? If people trash talk God to him all the time, and like that would hurt, like that's his father, and like you don't, and just like he was still kind, and it's just like, how do you do that?
So arguing isn't exactly sinful, it's how you argue that can be sinful.
Yes. How you argue, yes. Yeah, that's our little snippet of advice that probably isn't that helpful because we're obviously not experts and still like are hypocrites to everything we just said, but that's just what we've learned, and we still are learning how to practice that. Like, I don't think we're always going to have a perfect argument, but hey, if we get one perfect argument a year, like, praise the Lord. Like, that's awesome. So just count each milestone and each step that you're going toward in your goal, and yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and are left feeling encouraged and hopefully picked up something to learn and take away. We'll see you in our next video. Bye.